Welcome to Mona Tutorials. In this session we're going to be looking at the Reactor OnLookAt, OnLookAway, and OnInteract tools. First we're going to look at some examples, then we're going to look at how to set up the animation, an animator, and then adding the Reactor itself. Let's jump in. So first we have some examples here. So if you can see, we have a door that you can press E to open. And the other one we have where you can OnLookAt and OnLookAway, depending on how it's set up. This one's interesting because of the collider being the door, which changes over time. So we have that. And of course, once you press E, you can open it, and E again, you can close it. So that's what we're going to look at today. So first we have our two examples. I won't go into the animator too much, purely because we've done that in other tutorials, the animation tutorials or the previous Reactor tutorials. But if you look at the asset itself, we have OnInteract, which has our animator. And this has the two animations. And in the animator, you have the two files here. Once again, if you haven't got animation and animator, they are up in Window, Animation, Animation, and Animator. Once you have your two animations in Animator, you can click on one, go right mouse click, make transition, and then put it to the other one. So let's set those up directly. So I'm going to get rid of these. So once you have your two animations in here, like create new clip, or over here it has create, you can have your two animations in this. The orange one is the idle or the default state. Right mouse click on that, go make transition, and click on the other animation. So you have these transitions to an open door and a closed one. Now in this case, these are just one frame animations. So we have our door closed and we have our door open. Now the reason we do that is because Animator can do the transition between these two over time. So for a simple animation like a door, we can do that with this. So that will take 1 second to open and then 1 second to close. Now the next thing I'm going to do is turn off has exit time. What this means is that as soon as I interact with the door, it will open. Whereas this one only works when the transition has a fixed exit time. So after the event, for example. Usually most of my reactors will have this off. Now when that is off, you have to have a condition, which is what Reactor is going to edit. So for this transition from going a door closed to the door open, we want the parameter. Usually this will be on layers. Make sure it goes to parameters, and then you can add your parameter here. So you've got floats, ints, or whole numbers, booleans, or true or false, and a trigger. In this case, I just went boolean. And then I named it open. Notice that it has a capital O, and that's very important. We'll be using that in Reactor. So we want this transition to happen when open. So let's add this as well. So we got that. It will pick up what parameters are available. So we have open and is set to true. And then this one, we want to open when it is false. So when Reactor says to this animator, open is true, open the door, and when it says open is false, close the door. So that's it for the animator. This animation is basically the same. So we have door closed, door open here, the animation open, and we have our door open true, door open false. So the same animations are on both doors. Now, let's go to the Reactor itself. Now, I've put the Reactor on the door so that the collider is a child of the door. So when it opens, it stays the same. if that was not a child, then when the door opened, the door would be in the same position. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to the new Reactor tools, we have Mona Reactor script, and we have a bunch of new things that we can use to create our assets. So let's remove this and show you how to do it. So I'm going to remove this component, and I'm going to remove this one as well. So as a child of this, I'm going to create an empty and make this a Reactor asset. So Reactor OnInteract, for example. I'm going to add the Reactor script. Just type in Reactor there. And then I'm going to add a box collider. Now, because it is a child and not the same size, I will have to edit the size of the collider. So I'm going to move that across. Make it the size of the door as well. Now, a couple of notes in regards to this. If you are using UI text prompt, or basically on player interact, the is trigger needs to be off. And if this is off, this collider is a collider. So what I will do is if my door had a collider, I will take it off because I don't need two, and I want this one to be visible. This is an unfortunate requirement of the OnInteract script because of how raycasting works in Unity. So what you can see is a physical collider, so keep that in mind. Make sure that other colliders don't override it, otherwise you won't be able to interact with it. So first thing, let's call, so this text comes next to bracket E end bracket. This could be anything you want, so use that to your advantage in creating interactive spaces. Once that is done, you can add the element. Now the name is just what the text is there instead of element 0. So let's go open door. Now the operation in this case, I'm actually going to do invert. What invert does will take whatever parameter it is and then invert that. So if it's true, it will make it false. If it's false, it will make it true. If it's 1, it'll make it -1. If it's -1, it'll make it 1. So you can use that in a lot of interesting ways. So this way I can only do one command and it'll do 2 different states, which is what I want for a door. Now this object needs to be the animator asset. So if I look at this, mesh renderer doesn't have the animator. I put it on the parent because that will access all children. So I want to keep that in mind when I drag the asset into there. The parameter, if you look down here, is open with a capital O. The value type I'm going to switch is a Boolean. And even with invert, it doesn't matter if this is true or false, but it does have to have something. So just make sure, put something in there, and then it will take whatever it is and then change it. And that's basically it. So we have our invert, and that should work. So let's go playground, just to be sure. Now make sure to go save or delete the playground files. One of those two should work. You have open. And then once again, press E, and you'll open it. And then E to close it. That's that. Now the next one we're going to do quickly is basically the same thing. But this time we're going to use OnLookAt and OnLookStart and OnLookEnd. So once again, note that the animator is on the parent, not the door itself. This time I've just used sort of similar situations, but we've got open as a name, set the door look open to true, and then when I look away, set the door lock open boolean to false. So when I look at it, it will open, and when I look away, it will close. So basically the same thing, but different tools to create interesting experiences like that. So once again, let's have a quick look at that. There we have that. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to the OnInteract and OnLookAt and OnLookAway. I'm looking forward to seeing what people come up with. With that, have a nice day and happy building.